Africa is really not a real place. Somebody from South Africa submitted a story to me telling me that people don't only get kidnapped by mermaid spirits, that there are other types of spirits in the water that kidnap people, i.e. snake spirits. I am back with another spooky story. Now this story is called The Snake Husband. So in parts of Africa, people whisper about the Mami Wata spirits, water beings who can appear human but often take form of a snake. And they say if one of them falls in love with you, there is no escape. So a young woman, we're gonna call her Amara. Amara lived near a forest river. Every evening she fetched water alone. Although the elders warned her never answer if you hear your name called by the river. So one night Amara was just fetching her water, minding her business. Suddenly she heard it, and it was like a soft, deep, and a very sweet voice called her Amara. She turned, but no one was there. She turned back and she notices that the waves in the water was just a bit strange. So that night, she doesn't think anything of it. She goes about her business, gets her water, goes home, and returns the following day. Now, the next day, when she returned, to the same spot, mind you, this time, a tall, handsome man stood at the riverbank, dressed in white. The man was described to have really long eyelashes, and his eyes seemed like they had a glimmer in them. And he also had an interesting smile. However, the man was alluring and handsome. He was beautiful, and it seemed like he had his eyes set on Amara. The second Amara saw this dude, she was enamored. He approached her to talk to her, and surprise, within them getting to know each other, it seems like this man is Amara's dream man, the husband that she had been so patiently waiting for this whole time. Like, even his voice was soft. And while they were talking by the water, he offered her gifts, protection, and even love. Amara left, her chest tight. She just met the man of her dreams. How could she say no? So the person who submitted the story was Amara's sister. So she's telling it from her POV. Well, Amara started seeing this guy. They started going out to date, and Amara seemed like she was falling head over heels. 2 months into the relationship, Amara really started to want to meet the guy's parents, go to his house. However, he was always hesitant. Every time they would see each other, he would come pick her up, or they would just hang out in Amara's house. Well, 2 months into them dating, people noticed Amara changing. Her skin grew unusually smooth and cold. Her pupils became narrow like slits. At night, the weirdest thing, her family heard hissing coming from her room. And when they entered, the hissing was gone. Her skin started to shed like that of an actual snake. At this point, Amara's mother is having nightmares that there's a snake in her house. The next thing we know, the two kept dating and they became inseparable. Even though Amara looked like she was getting worser and worser. If you want to hear about how this story ended, how Amara's family found out that her boyfriend was actually a snake spirit, leave a comment saying part 2. And if you like spooky stories and this is not your first time, or it is your first time seeing my face, and you love spooky content, make sure you hit the follow button for more spooky stories.
This video is your sign to stop being so curious, because one day that curiosity will get you in big trouble. It all started when a guy who was a business traveler found a hotel and he decided to spend the night there. So he entered the building and everything seemed normal. I mean, the hotel looked nice, and then the receptionist came. And when the receptionist came, he told the guy that almost every room in the hotel is empty, so he can pick any room he wants. This is where the guy chose the room in the 3rd floor because he wanted a nice view, but here everything changes. Because when the receptionist heard that he wanted to go to the 3rd floor, his face basically went from to... Yes, it seemed like the receptionist didn't want the guy to go to the 3rd floor for some reason. He even tried to convince him to not go. You know, he said something like, the 3rd floor, I'm not sure, sir, because, you know, some rooms in that specific floor are under renovation, so it's recommended to not go there. And when the guy heard that, he was confused. He was like, sorry, sir, but renovations at night? Yeah, bro, give me the key. It's because, okay, listen. You can go, even though it's not recommended. You can go to the 3rd floor. I'll give you the key. But whatever you do, do not go to that room at the end of the hallway. Like I told you, that room is under renovation. And, you know, we don't want problems, so please don't go there. Yeah, understood. I mean, no, why would I go there? Just give me the key so I can go to my room and sleep. That's it. I promise you I'm not going. Now, the receptionist gave him the key and told him that his room is the first room that he sees once the elevator opens. See, those were some clear instructions, but you see, the guy was not planning on that. He wanted to see the renovations going at the end of the hallway. So the elevator doors opened, and this was supposed to be his room, but you see, the guy kept walking forward. Kept walking in that hallway until the end of it, where he saw these 2 doors. And behind these doors, there is actually some noise. Oh, this is where the guy told himself, okay, this is getting weird. I mean, these renovations he's talking about are too loud. I mean, I can hear some people talking, a bunch of people. Hold on, let's try with this door. He decided to knock on this door first, then he waited a short period of time. Nobody responded. This is where he tried to open it. When he tried to open it, surprise, nothing happened. The door was closed. This is where the guy decided to try with the second door here, and this time he was like, I'm not knocking again and waiting for too long. I will just open the door. He also told himself that if it's really renovation, that it shouldn't be that private, so he decided to open the door. So when he tried to open the door, he was surprised that this time the door actually opened and it made a lot of noise. You know when you try to open the door and it goes like, ah? Yes, he was trying to be sneaky this whole time, but the door made so much noise, he definitely got the attention of the people inside. Oh, this is where the guy panicked and he was like, okay, should I peep and say sorry? Yeah, I would probably do that. I'm sorry for... Once he took a look over that door, this is what he saw. He saw a cult doing a demonic ritual. Yes, he saw a whole bunch of people regrouped together, dressed in black robes, and looking at him like... This is where the guy understood that if he doesn't close the door and run for his life right now, then he's about to be the next sacrifice. This is where the adrenaline kicked in. The guy closed the door and he started running for his life. Kept running in that hallway, and each time he was looking behind him to see if they were following him. Luckily they wasn't, but he was running anyways. The guy's survival instincts reached their peak, okay? He was like, I'm not taking the elevator, it will take too long, I'm taking the stairs. He went down the 3 floors in 20 seconds, like it was nothing. And when he made it to the exit, he realized that the receptionist is not even here anymore. When the guy saw that, he was like, oh my god, bro, where is he? My refund, bro. Didn't even use the room. Oh my god, let's go. So while running for his life, the guy left the hotel, but he decided to come back tomorrow. Yup, that's what he did. If you're asking yourself, why the hell did he come back? Wasn't he running for his life yesterday? Well, here's what he said. He basically told himself that, look, whatever cult, demonic, ritual, sacrifices, that shit was scary last night, okay? Today is daytime. They better give me my money. He also wanted to give back the key to the room because he still has it. When he decided to come back, he was surprised. The whole building was crawling with police and it was under investigation. This is where the guy told himself, okay, you know what? You know the money? They can keep it. They're probably in jail anyways, so we both can have it. The key? Never had it, okay? I'm not getting in trouble. GG's.
A 100% true story that happened to a woman in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, there was this woman named Sherry who moved into this house with her 2 children in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, she said, at the time, she didn't believe in anything supernatural. She really thought that was a bunch of nonsense. But she said, right away when they moved in, she would notice, out of the corner of her eye, sometimes shadows moving across the walls. She would hear strange noises that she couldn't explain. But she said for the most part, it was just a normal house. One night, she's upstairs in her bedroom and she's folding laundry. She hears talking coming from her son's room. So she makes her way over to his room. The door's closed and she hears her son having a full-on conversation with someone. And she's like, who is he talking to, at 12:30 at night? So she opens the door, and when she looks in his room, he is not in his bed. So she starts yelling for him. She looks down and sees him next to the side of his bed, on his knees, crouched down, with his head under the bed, talking to someone. And she's like, hey, who are you talking to? Like, who's under there? And her son's like, I can't tell you. And she said, what do you mean you can't tell me? Like, who's under the bed? And he's like, I can't say. He'll get mad. And she's like, what? Who's under there? So she runs over to the bed and she looks underneath there. It's empty. There's nothing under there. So she's like, you know what? Just get back in bed. Like, just stop, doing whatever you're doing. Several weeks pass, and on a regular basis, she keeps finding her son talking to someone under the bed, except there's no one there. So after a few weeks of this happening, she thinks maybe something is wrong with her son. So she takes him to this child therapist. The therapist assesses him and says, he seems completely fine. It's probably just his imagination. So several months pass and he keeps on doing this. Well, one day she's sitting down in the living room with him and they're talking when she notices he has some scratches and bruises like all over his body. And she's like, where did you get those scratches and bruises from? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I can't say, I can't tell you. And she's like, yes, you have to tell me, like, what is going on with you? And finally he breaks down and he starts crying and stuff. And he just starts freaking out. And then he runs up to his room. So the mom, you know, at this time is like, I don't know what to do. Like, what is going on with my son? Like, she's just panicking. Later that night, she's awoken to her son screaming in his bedroom. She runs as fast as she can. She goes in his room. She finds him halfway underneath the bed. He's grabbing onto the bed frame, and it looks like something is pulling him under the bed. So she immediately grabs him, pulls him out from under the bed. She looks under there. There's no one there. So she's like, you know what? This is weird. Like, you're sleeping with me tonight. You're going to be in bed with me tonight. So they go back to her bedroom. He lays down. He falls asleep. She's sitting in bed. She can't sleep. She's like freaked out about this whole situation. When all of a sudden she hears, shh, hey, come under the bed. And she's like, what? She looks over. Her son is sleeping. But then once again, she hears, hey, come here, under the bed. I need to talk to you. And it's like a man's voice. And she's like, no, who are you? Like, go away. And the man's like, come on, get under the bed. I need to tell you something. And like, she's like, no, I'm not going under the bed. And she said this man, whoever he was, just started yelling obscenities and getting really angry. So she grabs her son. They get out of the house. And she said she left that night and never went back. And still to this day, that house sits there. And she said she's talked to the neighbors, and they said since she's moved, like several families have lived there, and they move out immediately.
Have you guys heard about the slit-faced woman? One of my followers named Alice just DM'd me on Instagram this whole story about how her grandmother encountered her, and y'all just know if I see this lady, I'll definitely be the one to die. So this was my first time hearing about the slit-faced woman. So when I asked Alice to explain her backstory, this is what she told me. Long story short, the slit-faced woman was a woman that lived in a village in Japan. She was known for her beauty, and every day she would go around the village asking everyone, am I pretty? Because everyone loved her, and she even knew that herself, while her husband was at war, she decided to take advantage of that and cheat on him. When the war was over, the husband drank and drank and drank to celebrate. The night he came home, he was super drunk, and his friend decided to tell him about this beautiful woman that lived in the village, obviously not knowing that this woman was his wife. Both men marched to her house, and when they got there, a man opened the door and said, this is my house. The drunken man heard a commotion in the back and saw a woman run across the house, which prompted him to barge inside. When the drunken man stepped foot inside the house, he saw the woman was actually his wife, which clicked to him that she was cheating. Out of anger, he stabbed the man that opened the door to death. He then grabbed his wife, and while he was holding her, he held a knife up to her mouth asking, do you think you're pretty? She said yes, and as she was screaming, he slit her mouth open with the knife. No one really knows what happened after that, but it's said her spirit now takes the form of a yokai, or in other terms, a demon. She walks around with a mask, and if you encounter her, she will ask you one question, am I pretty? If you say yes, she will remove her mask, showing her slit face, and then proceed to kill you by slashing your face just like hers. If you say no, she'll proceed to chop you up. It was believed at first that there was no way to make it out alive if you encounter her, but somehow Alice's grandma was able to. Alice told me the story happened when her grandma was a teenager, and she remembers hearing this story all the time. Her grandma grew up in Japan, and apparently there were sightings, and people were on edge about walking out alone or at night. Alice told me her grandma was a rebel. Like, back then, she had balls of steel, and she did not let anyone tell her anything. She said because her grandma heard these stories for so long, it was time for her to put it to the test and see if it was actually real. At the time, her grandma was 16 and she was fairly popular. Her grandma remembers asking her friends if they would be willing to venture out and see if the slit-faced woman was real. When she proposed the idea, every single person backed down except for this one boy that had a crush on her, which was her only witness. Her grandma told Alice it was a Saturday night when this all went down. Both her and the boy snuck out and met at their local bridge, which was close by. She told Alice she was wearing her school uniform, a jacket, and lit a cigarette for courage. The boy came dressed in full defense gear as if he was going to war. Alice Alice told me her grandma had no fear of this lady because it's all been alleged sightings and no real killings. All she wanted was drama and action. Her grandma told Alice that it was deep into the night when both her and the boy started to walk through the town. It was quiet, empty, and the only lights shining around them was from the street lights. Her grandma told her that this whole time on the walk, all she was thinking about was how she could have been in bed sleeping while this boy next to her was shivering with fear. Her grandma threw out her cigarette and decided to scream, "Come out, slip-faced lady." And of course, other things just to egg it on to see if this lady would actually appear. She told Alice that about 20 minutes into walking through the town and getting tired from going back and forth as they were about to call it a night and go back home, the both of them stopped near an alleyway. This is where they saw one light shining and a person standing in the middle of the lit up area. You know, something you'd see in a literal horror movie. Her grandma said her and the boy stood at the end of the alleyway looking. She remembers crossing her arms and saying, "Who's there? Come over here so we can see you." Her grandma said after saying that, the person slowly turned around. The person was a lady with long black hair, had a white dress on, and was wearing a mask. She said after the lady revealed herself, she heard fast footsteps of the boy she was with running away. She was left alone to deal with the slit-faced woman by herself. In that moment, her grandma remembers cussing to herself because maybe she should have listened to all those stories and she wouldn't be in this mess. Grandma remembers standing still and not running away like the cowardly boy, and even told the woman to come forward. As the woman walked towards her, she had one hand free and one hand behind her, indicating that she had a weapon. As the woman came close to her, her grandma said the lady started to laugh to herself. She also looked her grandma up and down, admiring her beauty. Alice told me her grandma did in fact drop the tough act and she began shaking with fear. She was scared because she knew what was going to happen next. She was going to die. Her grandma said she smiled at the lady and gave her a bow of respect. The lady stood still and then asked, "Tell me, am I pretty?" Alice told me in that moment her grandma's heart dropped to her stomach. Her grandma remembers thinking about the stories and how even if you were to say yes or no, it would still result in death. She said she didn't want to die, so she had to think of something fast. She kept thinking and thinking, should she run away, should she not answer, but then something sparked in her mind. She knew there had to be a loophole that could prevent her from possibly killing, and she had the perfect idea. Her grandma raised her head up, looked the lady up and down with the mask, and said, "You're average." Her grandma said she immediately flinched because she was expecting to get stabbed, but instead, the masked lady looked confused. She started looking at herself and kept repeating over and over, "Average." Her grandma said this was her chance to run like how the boy did, and she did exactly that. She ran down the alleyway, and at one point, she heard the lady screaming "average," and then it echoed, and then stopped. When she turned around, the lady was gone. It was like that was the spell to stop her. Alice told me after that day, her grandma learned that if you meet the slit-faced lady, you have to give her a dismissive answer which will make her confused. This will make her think about her looks, which will give you time to run and will make her disappear again. Alice's grandma has never seen the slit-faced woman again, but now shares her story in case anyone encounters her.
A story from a woman who claims that when she was a child, she could breathe underwater. Now, stay with me. She said that when she was a kid, she used to love being in her aunt's pool. She could swim all the way to the bottom, all the way across, and she was able to breathe underwater with ease. And she knows that she was able to do it because she even remembers trying to teach her little cousin how to do it. And her cousin was never able to, but as she got older, she lost this ability. And she just chalked this memory up as like something related to childhood trauma. She said her childhood wasn't great, and she probably just invented this idea in her head as like a false memory to make herself feel better about her childhood. But even as an adult, she's always felt this very strong connection to water. And she said that part of it is that she feels like she was made wrong because she does have what she described as an invisible disability. She has flat feet and knock-knee legs. She's in pain every single day, but when she's in the water, she feels comfortable and at ease and like she's where she belongs. But she said this isn't that strange because a lot of people with her condition are told to swim as like a form of physical therapy. She never really thought about her ability as a child until she was 27. She was at a family gathering swimming in a pool, and one day it just happened. She took a breath underwater and she resurfaced, and she was in complete shock as all of these memories about breathing underwater came back to her, but she couldn't tell anyone, right? Because she was like, they're going to look at me like I'm insane. She said at the time she was seeing a chronic condition specialist who she kind of developed like a friendship with outside of just the therapy setting. And her therapist ended up telling her that basically she was interested in having her try some spiritual methods or Reiki energy healing. And this put her off because she was like, I'm not really a spiritual person. Like that's just not my lane, you know? Said she's always been skeptical by nature, but when the doctor asked if she can try these methods on her, she's like, what do I have to lose? Because at that point she was in such chronic pain that she was barely able to move at all. The doctors told her that she was going to be bedridden by 30, and they kept putting her on all of these medications that didn't really seem to do anything for her. So her doctor starts doing what she calls reprocessing therapy, and she starts addressing what she described as repressed emotions and memories stored in the body to release trauma. That she was mixing metaphysical and spiritual methods with traditional medicine in a way that was unique to her condition. And one day the doctor just starts telling her about Atlantean people, and it sounded conspiracy adjacent, as this woman describes it. I guess just the nature of the conversation led her to tell her doctor that she used to be able to breathe underwater when she was a child. And she really didn't expect the doctor to believe her, but the doctor actually surprises her because she says, I could too. And then she went on to proceed how she would do it without this woman ever telling her how she did it. And it was the exact same way. She said she didn't want to tell me how she does it because she doesn't want people using this to say that they know how to do it, but she is curious if there's other people like her out there, because she is looking for a scientific explanation of this, and she's 33 now, and there's not a day that she takes walking or dancing for granted. She said, I've researched, I can't find anything. I just want to know if there's more of us out there. I'm not going to say anything, but I will be reading the comments. Let her know what you think.
Here is a horror story that happened to me and my best friend. If you don't believe in paranormal activity, just scroll, because I'm not going to argue with you guys in the comments. So basically, for a little bit of background information, every single time my best friend comes over, no matter the weather or anything, we usually watch a scary movie and then go for a walk. Don't ask why, that's just what we like to do, and usually there's like Taco Bell or some food in there too, but that's just what we do. We were like, let's go for a walk. Now, where we chose to go for a walk might have been where the part where we messed up, but we always go back here. Like, I go back here with my other friends. Like, usually it's fine. I've had 1 or 2 experiences back there, but that's for another time. Basically, it's like houses lined up, and behind their house and behind their backyard is like a small pathway where you can walk. And the pathway leads to train tracks and like a park. It's not even like a park. It just has swings and this huge slide. That's it. So I think it's like dead summer, and we immediately walk outside and a huge cold breeze just smacks me in the face. And I specifically remember that because right after that, I just got this bad like tension in my body that I didn't like at all. And I kind of like brushed it off just because I wanted to go for a walk. Like, I was bored. So like I didn't say anything, but she was feeling the same exact thing. And I figured that out after this happened. So maybe we both should have just spoke up, but whatever. Since we were both feeling a little like scared and, you know, tensed up, Aubrey started telling me a story, and I don't know what it was about. I think it was like this girl stealing someone's boyfriend. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but the most important part is when she was telling the story, she specifically said they were saying this girl had a weird face. And I don't know if this was actually what happened, but in my head, she kept repeating it. She kept saying, this girl had a really weird face. Again, I don't know if she was actually repeating that or if that's just the thing that stuck out to me. But in my head, she said that 10 times. She was just like, she had such a weird looking face. Like, Megan, it looks so weird. It's like, I don't know. That's just like the only thing I remember her saying. And then she said something about like it looking like disformed. And I was like, all right, okay, let's stop. I was like, all right, let's stop, because I got this god awful looking scary girl in my head and I could not get it out. Specifically remember a huge ass cold breeze smacking my face again, and that's when I was like, oh my fucking god, my body like tensed up. I got like the chills, and I wanted to say, Aubrey, we need to turn back, we need to go back. Like, something in my head was saying, go back, go back, go back, go back. And we kept walking. Just because sometimes I don't know if it's just because I'm being a pussy or if it's my body actually telling me go the fuck back. So I was like, okay, maybe you're just scared, keep walking. So we kept walking. Okay, I'm getting kind of scared because my room's in the basement and like the door's right there. I don't like, it's like too quiet right now. It's okay. We're walking and we hear 2 branches crack behind us. And I'm like, I shoot my head back and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, it's fine, Aubrey, just keep walking. So we keep walking and we hear more movement behind us, not trees like or branches cracking, like more like just like movement, like kind of like bushes moving. And I was like, bro, do you hear that or am I tripping? And she's like, no, I hear it, Megan. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just stay calm. And then it happened the 3rd time and we bolted. Like, we didn't even see anything at this time, we just ran, right? Aubrey was a little ahead of me because the thing is like anytime anything like this happens, I like when everyone's in front of me just so I can like make sure everyone's there. And right behind Aubrey, and you guys saying this, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but you please believe me because I'm not lying. Like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, not lying. And I was almost throwing up and crying after this, like, genuinely. So standing behind Aubrey, well, chasing Aubrey actually, is this tall black man with a long stretched out face. He didn't really have a face. He just had like a long mouth and like long eyes, kind of like that, all black body. And he was like hovering over Aubrey, because it's like he was right there. He could have like got Aubrey if he wanted to, but he was just like kind of pacing, like this was Aubrey and this was him, and he was just like kind of pacing with her, if that makes sense. And I'm just like running, like I'm running basically next to it, and I'm just like looking up at it. Like I didn't say anything, like I didn't. So we get to one of like the houses, because like I said, we're a pathway behind houses. So we come out where we can like kind of run out in one of their front yards, if that makes sense. So we get there, and I like put my hands on my knees like this, and I'm breathing heavy, and I'm crying, and Aubrey's like, Megan, what was that? What the fuck was that? And I'm like I can't breathe, because I don't think she saw it. If I'm wrong, Aubrey, correct me in the comments. I don't think she saw it, but I'm out of breath, like crying, and I'm like, Aubrey, I'm gonna throw up. I can't catch my breath. And she's like trying to hold me and like walk me down the court, because basically I live on courts, and so we were trying to get to the end to get like to the main thing, if that makes sense. If you guys want me to, I can like always pull up a map and explain it, but that's like, I don't know. And so we're walking, and I'm not even joking. You can tell. I'm just looking back every single second. I'm like, I'm not joking. I tell Aubrey, you look forward, I'll look back, because we need to make sure like that wasn't someone real. Even though deep down, I knew it wasn't, because he was right there. He was literally right there. I just heard something on my door. No one better try to scare me right now, because I will actually fucking kill someone. I'm actually scared. And thinking back to this, oh my god, now I'm hearing shit. We got back, and I'm like crying, and I don't even know what we do. Oh yeah, we come in my room, we sit down still out of breath, and then that's when we kind of like calm down a little, because you know, we're in my room, we're safe, but we're still like looking around my room, like we don't want to leave my room. Like it was just so bad. I don't know, but whatever it is, we haven't gone back since. So yeah. But thanks for watching my story time, guys. If you guys want more, comment, because I have so many more, because stuff has happened in my house, at other people's houses, around my house, and yeah. So love you guys. Bye.